I'm in the big leagues, told her don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog, like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of CED Connects, Cannabis Entrepreneurial Dialogues. I'm your host, Danny, and I'm here with Stephen J.
What up, Danny? What up, beautiful people?
What's up, man? Today we have a special guest in the house. We're excited, but before we get into that, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow our page, CED Connects. Follow American Cholo for all the updates. So we're back here. We're in the beautiful city of North Hollywood here at the American Cholo Studios. Stephen J, man, talk to me. How was your 420, bro?
Bro, 420 is the Super Bowl for anyone who works in the cannabis industry. We, as said, we had like 3 guests lined up. Like April was supposed to be packed, and every single person canceled because they're like, so crazy, 420, getting everything ready. And then like you had calls. I was called up to Santa Barbara like 5 times. So, you know, it was cool. But on 420, I had a blast. I was passing out. I was doing a little ice cream outreach at UC Santa Barbara, home of the Gauchos. I got a dispensary on Isla Vista, so I was passing out free ice cream. It was branded. I touched like 300 people's hands, told them about the dispensary, told them about our deals. It's cool. It's my own little version of OOH marketing, out-of-home marketing. You know, you can't pass out weed as a weed brand, but you can give out free ice cream all day, and who doesn't like free ice cream? So
I do.
That was my 420. I didn't smoke on 420. However, I did roll a blunt at 420 that I smoked at 5. So, you know, we'll figure it out.
Makes sense. Makes sense. We're gonna really tap more into our guest Anthony with HAYDAR, but so we want to have his input into his 420, man. How was your 420, Anthony?
It was good, man, but kind of like your boy here, I didn't really smoke on 420. I was too busy kind of working through most of the day.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, kind of just I feel like most people in cannabis, it's a super chaotic day. When you're not in cannabis, you're just smoking all day, you know, hitting different shops. But other than that, it's pretty much just work, you know?
Yeah, leading up to it, too, man, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that entire last 2 weeks. For me, my 420, it was a Saturday, and so
You were at baseball or softball.
I was at softball all morning for the most part.
You play it?
No, my daughters. I got kids,
nice.
man. So the babies, she had her softball game at like 9:30 in the morning.
Oh,
so we did that. And then we went to USC. The USC was hosting the Festival of Books. So shout out to LA Times for that. It was fun. It was a good time. They had like a little kids section that was a big ass kids section, and we didn't even leave that area because it was so much going on there. It was
nice.
a bunch of book vendors there, like selling their books. They had like the library. They had little libros there. They had a stage, so they were doing like. By the time we got there, they were doing like there was someone singing kids songs and like reading kids stories there. So they had like this whole a crowd of kids like listening in. So it was a cool little time. And then afterwards, we got home and I hit up the High Rise party in West Hollywood.
Oh, how was that?
Right.
I saw the recap video and I saw the guys talking about it on their podcast. How'd it go?
It was cool.
Nice.
It was cool. It was fun. It was a good time. It was like a private, secluded area where like you had to be on the list to like for them to even allow you inside. So
damn,
it was a cool little spot.
Did you get any goodies? Like with any brands passing out stuff?
No, there was no brands there.
Oh,
there was no brands in there.
okay.
Was
No
there?
dab bar, no nothing.
No, at least, but I got there at 9. I got there like at 9 o'clock. So I got there at the after party.
Oh,
Like
okay.
the after hours party. I wasn't there. I know they were doing something there all day. I can't think of the name.
like the mingle.
Yeah.
Get to know each other after time.
Yeah. So it was cool though. It was a cool little spot.
Nice.
But yeah, man.
Anthony, quick question. What would be like your dream go-to product at 420 on 420? Like if you no strings, like you could pick whatever you wanted, smoke it however, what would you do?
That's a tricky question because I have to say my brand.
Yeah, I mean, shameless plug. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? That's a tough spot. If we're talking just like what would I like to smoke, man? To be honest, live rosin's always my go-to.
Okay,
you know what
sure.
I mean? Something clean. So I've been smoking since I was 12. I'm 30 now. You know what I mean? So a blunt doesn't do it the same. A
Nah,
joint,
like
you know what I mean?
rosin,
Yeah, something to hit hard, something that's gonna get me back old school, couch locked. Good flavor to it, low temp dab. You know, something just more mellow, kickback, clean.
No hot dabs over here for me.
Please no, please no. My lungs can't do that no more.
I've only tried one. I want to try it again, but I had one bad experience, and I haven't wanted to try it again.
Why have two?
What's that?
Why have two bad experiences?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just like waiting for the right time, I guess.
But from what, hot dabbing or rosin?
Yeah.
No, it's never the right time, bro. That stuff is terrible. Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'm so busy with my life that like I can't really like take the time to like just get, like you just said,
like
couch slap and just stay like.
Nah.
I'll take my edibles, my 5, 10 milligrams, and just keep that steady throughout the day, because I got the kids, I got the business running around. But for me to like just get done,
it's not possible, man. It's super late at night, if anything. Yeah, I feel you on that one.
So Steven,
Yes, sir.
word on the street is that you were honored in some type of way or some type of event, State of the Union.
So my company's doing this thing. It's called State of the Company. I've only been with the squad for about 9 months, and they honored about 4 different people that embodied our core values, and I was one of them, and it was cool. And they said I exemplified putting the customer first. How much I'm at all the stores, and how much I vouch for my bud tenders, and how much I vouch for, you know, treating the customer first, and just like my persona. Because I'm a retail person. I understand retail, understand how important that experience has to be. So if we're not putting our customer first, they're not going to want to come back. If our customer doesn't have the best experience where they leave like, fuck, you're a really cool person, or I feel like I got hooked up, they're not going to come back. They have endless amount of opportunities to go shop other places, try different products. So what makes it unique is them coming to us, and that's something that I carried over. And hey, I got $200. That was cool.
Nice.
Got a little gift card. There was like 400 people at our State of the Company meeting, and 4 of us got called up. So I was an honor.
That was dope. That was dope. Congrats, man.
Thank you, sir.
You deserve it, because you do work a lot.
I put in the footwork with all 5 toes.
The work, the miles, all of it, because you're traveling throughout the entire state with these guys.
I'm from Santa Ana to Berkeley at least once a month, if not twice, typically. So it's road warrior. But that's what's cool. Like, I wanted that. I now have a network in the Bay. I now have a network in Fresno. I have a network in OC. I have a network in the 805. Like, I was so Long Beach focused that I only knew Long Beach. So it's exactly what I wanted, and I'm blessed.
You know, you said some things right now in terms of like having the consumers come back to the stores. How can brands capitalize on something like that? Like, or is it a different approach for brands than it is for a shop in terms of customer retention?
On YouTube, I have a panel from HAYDAR that talks about cannabis marketing, which would be a great way to go check out that panel. And the number one way is, as a brand, is going to be able to create community. So having these small events, being able to touch hands, not only just give away product, because if you give away product, there's no guarantee that someone's going to consume that product, or if it even makes it to be open. People might throw it away because they just judge it by the packaging or whatever it may be. So being able to curate consumption, curate community, but that's outside of the dispensary. If you're inside of the dispensary, it comes with real brand activations. It comes with, I don't want to say buying shelf space, but like, imagine this right here, this little slot machine. Imagine if it was all branded with HAYDAR. And it was the HAYDAR Extracts one. It doesn't work, but that's that machine, and it's branded every time. Someone's going to stop by. Someone's going to take a picture. Someone's going to remember it. So it's little things like that inside the dispensary that make a power, but also everyone knows PADs, but PADs are getting slimmer and slimmer by the minute. So you got to figure out how you're going to make an impact. Are you going to go to that store 4 times a quarter? Are you going to go 3 times a quarter? Or are you going to try to go once a quarter? You just got to see what's reasonable, what's within. And then if anything, bud tenders. Bud tenders, bud tenders, bud tenders. If your bud tenders aren't your biggest friends, they ain't going to sell your shit. And if they haven't tried your shit, they definitely ain't going to sell it. And unless there's an incentive, like the best incentive I've ever seen was by Ember Valley. They ended up giving the top bud tender like $375 cash for selling the most units. So it's like bud tender incentives, sell through programs. So that's how you get it. But being cool, doing cool stuff that other stoners think is cool, not what the masses think is cool. Because what the masses can think is cool could be really fucking corny. And you never want to be a brand that's corny.
Yeah.
Unless it's cheesy. Cheesy, corny, two different things in my opinion. But I feel like that's how brands can succeed.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And don't give out crackhead lighters ever. I was like, I got a Bic lighter right here. Don't ever pass out crackhead lighters. It just makes you look bad all across the board. Yeah, just all bad.
You felt really triggered with that.
Bro, I'm passionate about that. I want Bic lighters or I want Clipper lighters. Don't give me no plastic shit. Don't give me something that you bought for $1.35 online. Like,
Anthony, you taking notes?
Yeah, hey, you know what? No, I'm on his side already. I'm bugging out myself once you said passing out crackhead lighters. I'm like, no more, please, please. They get thrown away so fast. It's not even funny.
for sure. I don't even take them.
Yeah.
Oh, you want a lighter? Let me see.
Like, let me
No,
put
I'm
it
good.
back on
I'm
your
good.
desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put this in the other bag.
Right in the little slot.
Double it and give it to the next guy.
Double it, give it to the next guy.
You know, there's one other thing that I recently just saw. I don't know if you guys saw this on Hulu.
High hopes.
High Hopes.
Yeah.
The new show that's out with MMD Hollywood.
Yep.
Have you seen it?
I refuse to.
Really? Why? Why?
I got some. I think it's great for the industry. I think it's great exposure. A lot of my friends are talking about on socials. They think it's funny. They obviously they say a lot of it's scripted, but
Yeah. I have some issues with it.
yeah.
But I want to hear your why you don't even want to watch it.
I've never had a good experience at MMD. I've
Okay.
been to their Long Beach location. I've been to their North Hollywood location. Marina Del Rey. Never had a good experience. Never felt like I was getting anything great. So it's strictly from a consumer standpoint. Nothing against the owners. Nothing against the people that work there. It's just, do I think they deserve a Hulu show? Not really. Do I get the pre-sense of why being the first medical marijuana shop? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel just sucks. But other than that, everyone likes High Hopes. So I literally have a
Shots
text
fired.
message saying, "Please watch it, bro." I have multiple. So I'm probably not gonna check it out, but it's doing its thing.
Is it like
Yeah.
a reality show?
They're making it
supposed to be
out.
that.
They're making it to be like this reality show. I can't even think of it's like a mix of Pawn Stars type of deal. They've created these characters almost. One of the characters, which I've hit up and I sent the DM saying you want to be on the show, but I feel like they've made him out to be the Chum Lee of the dispensary, and for me I was just and then they have the typical stoner guy on the. On that's working there as a bud tender, which again I'm I get it, but if we're trying to change minds about it,
Exactly.
we're not doing it with that character for sure.
Your
You know what I
cliche
mean?
archetypes.
Yeah. So those were my two big. I only saw the first episode, maybe a little bit of the second, but that was my biggest takeaway from just watching that first episode was that. They're creating, like you said, they're creating these characters. Obviously, it is scripted. It has to be.
It has to be. It's TV.
Yeah. Right. It's in TV. It's cool to see, from back when I was delivering for Lowell, and we would deliver at MMD, Danny was the lead intake, the lead buyer for there. So it's cool to see that, Danny's there, and she's also being the face of MMD, because she was always the face of MMD Hollywood when it came to deliveries and within the company.
She was that point person.
She was that point person. So shout out to you, Danny, for being on there and being a part of that this episode. I don't know anyone else on the team there, but that was cool to see. But other than that, yeah.
Have you seen the Netflix show? It's Disjointed, or it was another weed show Netflix did, or one of the streaming platforms. I feel like it's gonna be
yeah.
I'm gonna check it out. But
it's a little bit
Yeah.
yeah. Just with real people, you know,
Yeah.
people that you can go into MMD and
you'll
actually see those
great
individuals
marketing
there.
exposure.
Yeah,
Great. No one's had better marketing than that.
for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously the brands like are obviously taking advantage of that marketing too, like that, you know, because in the background you'll see like the Kiva, like the Kiva bars that are like already on the regular walls. You know what I mean? So they're obviously they should, and if they're not, you should be taking advantage.
Man, that
of
shelf space that ticket should go up.
I would have so many videos as seen on Hulu.
For real.
All my commercials are coming from the show.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, just little clips.
Yeah.
It's like a zoom in on the product. Nothing about a zoom in on the product. Like,
Yeah,
that's funny.
I think I actually saw a post from someone. I think Heavy Hitters actually did it. I think where they like screenshot, like they cropped out like the person and they just highlighted their packaging that was on the background of the episode. So, but yeah, I mean, good for them.
Yeah.
Because they should be doing that shit.
Hey, it's a matter of time. I'm a huge component of cannabis. Cannabis, not only movies, but I think reality shows in general. Like cooking shows are insane. I think cannabis cooking shows are the best.
Yeah.
I think there's.
I still haven't seen a good one. The one that was in Netflix, I didn't like either because of the judges that they had.
Yeah, it could always be better.
Yeah,
we
it could always
just
be
got to
better.
do it ourselves. That's
Yes,
all.
yeah,
If you want to fund a cannabis cooking show, hit us up. Set Connects.
We can make it happen.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how it happens anyways, right? Like all these greedy corps start to see how things are going. They snatch it up, and then it takes other people to be like, you know what? That's not quite the direction it's supposed to be going. Let me do it.
Yep.
Most of these guys actually painting the narrative aren't cannabis smokers themselves. They're just people with deep pockets.
Yeah, you're telling me.
That's true.
Yeah. So community's got to reframe it.
Yeah, for sure. So Anthony, what's up, man? Talk to us. Where you from, bro?
Where'd
you grow
Where
up?
you from, fool?
yeah,
No, I'm
You
just
from
kidding.
Fluke?
Damn,
I mean,
bro.
it's only fitting being
at
here at the American Cholo. Like,
Studio.
I was
where you
about to
from,
say,
fool?
I was about to say, bro, I'm here every Wednesday. You know how many times I got to answer some shit like that? I was raised up, a bunch of different areas, but mainly in Inglewood was a more consistent spot. I moved out to the Valley, lived in Palmdale for a little while, but I really sat down in the Valley in the later parts of my life and been here for the past little over 10 years. But yeah, I guess you could say most of my young adult life and up to leading into adult life was right here in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. What was cannabis like in your household growing up? Like, what was the messaging behind cannabis in your household?
So this is a crazy direction that things went into. My dad is one of the founding members of HAYDAR as well, right?
Okay.
So it's like a family business, okay? But the irony kind of behind that is that my dad didn't really start smoking until maybe 2-3 years ago. And just before he started to accept cannabis, weed was basically on par with his mind with crack. Or like cocaine,
Sure.
So when my dad tells this story, he always tells it as, when my son started smoking weed and I found out, I cried because I felt like my son was a crackhead.
Where's your family from?
Mexico and Salvador.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So my pops is from Mexico, my mom is from Salvador, and he used to throw the weed away. He peed in some of my weed. Yeah.
Damn.
So he'd walk into my room one day. He opens the door and he's like, "Hey, son." I'm like, "What's up, Dad?" And he's like, "I found that big old jar of weed you had." And I was like, "Fuck." And he's like, "Here it is," and it's just halfway full of piss.
Oh,
And I'm like,
in the jar?
in
That's
the jar.
savage.
And there's another time he found I had like a big glass tube with the cork on the top, and it had like the little Rastafari paint on it or whatever. And he pulls it out, and he's like, "Man, this stuff smells good." And he has some Modelo, and he starts pouring the Modelo in there. Dude, he used to go, because he would ground me, try to take it. But, when I was younger, I was actually selling weed at the time. So
When did you start selling weed?
I was 16, maybe.
And then when did you start smoking it? Or
12.
start being around it? 12 years old.
12. I was around it way before, but 12 is when I kind of took on the mantle, grabbed up the torch or the big lighter.
Okay.
Yeah. And they started selling about 15 or so. So he kind of gave up on the throwing away and grounding stuff and was just like, "I'm going to just piss in his weed."
And now that he's a part of the brand,
man.
he's like looking at the prices, and obviously those prices weren't the same back then, right?
Nah, and the quality was different, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I look at those pounds of turkey bags when my dad has them in his hands and be like, "Man, I could piss in that bag right now."
That's how exactly going to ask is, did you ever return the favor?
No, man, because unfortunately for me, the pivot in my direction didn't come till it could actually affect me. So I was like, all right, man. Now I'm putting holes in my own boat.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. You got me back then, but all right, I see you.
I'm gonna let you do your thing.
Yeah.
Just this one time. Just this one time. Now, I've been victim to the weed in the toilet a few times.
Yeah, right.
Surprisingly, my parents got more pissed when they found my hookah than when they found weed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was different. I was also 16 though. Whatever.
That's wild. Yeah.
You know, parents have their own way.
Of course.
Come from a Latino background too, so.
There you go. Were you Mexican?
I am. I'm 100% bean, but I'm also very American. I grew up. My dad's family was like, once you're here, you're American. We don't speak Spanish. We do this. My mom's side is from Colorado, which is very American. Oh, yeah. So I'm just a nice little blend. I grew up going to school in Palos Verdes, so says a lot right there.
Yeah, first American. I mean, American, Mexican, man.
Still very proud. Still very proud, and I feel that it's important for people like us to have this conversation because no one taught me this, or it wasn't a Hispanic. It wasn't a minority teaching me this cannabis information. No. So I feel like it's only my due diligence.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about it.
Yeah. So. No, I like that. Even with our brand, that's a big part of it is, you know, the Latin side of things and making sure that we kind of have our own little cornerstone and things.
Yeah.
Dope. That's cool, man, to see that it's Latino-owned branding.
How'd you come up with the name?
Yeah.
So that was a tricky one, right? And
does it mean anything?
It does. It holds a lot of meaning, actually. So when I actually first got into cannabis,
can I see it back?
Yes, sir. Cannabis as an industry, I was actually very jaded to it. Right, I was very jaded to the direction things were going and the direction kind of farmers were put into, and I actually ended up meeting somebody. We were trimming a lot. I ended up meeting a good friend of ours. His name is Flo. He's he's our grower. But he actually has worked with a lot of people like Icon, you know, plenty of names he can go on with. But he knew this guy, Dave Carbone, right, Ape, the guy who actually first made the first pneumatic press, the rosin machine, right? He also made the agricultural pollen extractor, which is why his name is Ape. So in a lot of ways, he's like one of the forefathers of live rosin, right? His machines are some of the best machines. Are the ones if you go to Jungle Boys, if you go to Backpack Boys, all these spots, you're going to see his rosin technology machine in there, right? Very smart dude, man. Very knowledgeable guy. And for me personally, the only way I was really going to get into cannabis is if the product that we were going to be growing is something that I would smoke myself personally. It's something that I would want to have in my box at home, right? It can't be based off a dollar. It has to be based off a principle in my mind, right? And Dave Carbone was kind of the perfect guy to understand that vision and direction, and it's kind of what he wanted to do. He was a perfectionist that doesn't want anything less than, right? And to me, that's beautiful. So when we started talking, I was more so like, how are we going to how are we going to tackle this? Because if that's the case, the way I see this is I don't want McDonald's mass production line where we don't even care about the product, right? I want it to be more hand tailored where I'm intimate with the product and I can sit down and be upset if it's not perfect, right? So to me, it's like, all right, well, let's look at the inception of cannabis, right? Nobody knows the story, but there's like a plethora, a couple handful of inception stories we can look at. When we look back at the Middle Eastern culture and we saw the way the Afghans were still to this day like hand siphoning their hash, right? Through all these nets. It was a hand-tailored process and they cared so much and it was so intimate still, right? And I love that approach of being that close, that intimate, that hands-on with the product, right? And so then that made me focus more so on their side of the culture. So when you look into HAYDAR was actually a monk from Afghanistan. He created the Sufi order, right? Sufi means for the people. So the reason why I really like the story is because it kind of reflects the direction of the brand in like 3 different ways. The Sufi means for the people. At the time, there was like a stigma around cannabis, kind of like what we're already breaking that wall down a tad bit right now. Mm-hmm. You know, you're lazy, you're this, you're that. At the time, you had your hashashins, which were your assassins that were smoking hash to do this stuff, right? So at the time, you know, the people were really looking at cannabis a certain way. Now, this monk, he was, I can't remember the type of monk, but the ones that basically hit themselves. They prove mental strength is more powerful. Like they'll put their body to any conditions, freezing, rain, shit like that, and they're still like Gucci. But that naturally he was also depressed and he was very antisocial, and he would never allow his followers to walk into his doors, right, into his room. Mm-hmm. They were just allowed in the palace or the temple, right? So one day randomly he goes out into he opens the doors, he leaves the temple and he walks into the wilderness, and while he's walking he sees this little plant kind of just catching his attention. He goes and consumes the plant. It ends up being cannabis, right? He gets real high, and all of a sudden he kind of opens up, becomes more positive. A lot of the mental issues that he's dealing with, they seem to start going away. He becomes a happy, more peaceful person. He goes up to his followers, and then he opens up his doors to them. And he says, you know what, come on in. Like, he really starts to open his heart up and his mind up and alleviate a lot of his mental anxiety and depression. And then his followers are like, dude, what's going on with him? What happened here? So then that's kind of the way it's spread, and that story a little bit from the followers on forward, right? And then they started to tackle the social stigmas of it. HAYDAR actually means lion, which is why the lion is on the package on there, right?
I see it.
And for ourselves and our culture currently, right, we're currently trying to deal with a lot of the stigmas that people have out there, like we just spoke of on the shows and things like that, right? Simultaneously, we're also we have a lot of mental issues, especially in America. People are really trying to tackle and focus on, people's mental ailments and how different things can help. Cannabis is something that is a natural remedy for some people out there, right? So when it came down to the story, culture is one of the pillars of the brand, right? Authenticity, organic growth, like meaningful things, and moving correctly, moving with proper and pure intentions. That way, a tree a tree that don't know its roots can't stand, right? So if you build something on something, if you put a plant in shit, the right shit it'll grow, but the wrong shit it won't, right? Yeah. But the wrong shit it won't. So trying to make sure that everything has intention, everything has a meaning, everything is purposeful. And so the brand, the name, the story, and today's climate, why we're getting into it, all kind of sits in tandem with each other. You know what I mean?
Dope. That was very deep but very thoughtful, and you
very
can tell.
Refreshing too.
Yeah,
I appreciate
for sure.
that.
I love that story what he was going through, and then after that hashish thing too.
Dude, it's way better than hearing people say, "Oh, I just thought it sounded cool."
Yeah,
way
I don't
better.
like that, man. And then like the colorful, all the random stuff going on. No, man, I like the Godiva, clean, elegant approach and putting meaning, man. Like lifestyle branding. And
so, did you start with concentrate with extracts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this is flour in this bag.
Yeah. So the interesting part is what we actually started with was a live rosin pen, and the reason why we kind of started there is because a lot of the pens that are out on the market aren't actually calibrated to burn live rosin properly. Right. They're really calibrated to burn resin, right? Mm-hmm. And the way a lot of these companies get away with this is the viscosity of rosin is very different than the viscosity of a resin, right? They're completely different concentrates. So what they'll do is they'll mix it with disti. Right.
Yep.
And then that
will an HTE.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
More.
Steven, you had a question?
I forgot even the word you said, but for our followers, viscosity. Yeah. I know what it means because of context, but I just wanted to give it to the listeners a little bit better breakdown of what that means when it comes to hardware.
Well, I guess viscosity. I used a big word, but describing that big word, I might sound worse now. No. You're good. It would basically just be like, I guess you could say like the density of a liquid. If a water is going to be a bit more viscous than, like, let's say a syrup, right? A syrup is going to be a lot more dense and squishy and thick, right? And if the hardware that you have isn't able to really burn at that rate for, like, let's say like a syrup, it's just going to create more like a gunk and like a buildup, right? If it's a water and it's too hot for that lower viscosity, it's just going to evaporate everything into the atmosphere, right? So the way that you would actually deal with the different levels of, I guess, the density of those liquids would be for these companies to mix them. Right, because then you can kind of get in that middle ground where your syrupy texture becomes a little more watery, or you know what I mean.
Right.
So it would just be playing with those densities of a liquid. It would be your viscosity, right?
Does it diminish the product?
Yes, entirely. And it also is it's lying to your consumer, right? Which a point that you said, everything you said earlier is I really love it, because it's really the approach that I have, and it's really it's the mental start of any question when it comes to the brand that I have. Because to me, it's like there's Bill Gates and there's Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of Bill Gates out there in the world. Your Cookies, your Stizzies, all these guys. And, your Microsoft computers in every office in the world, right? But that network that Steve made was so hard because his question started with the consumer, right? Whether it was good or bad, he found a way to make that environment that he created so difficult for the consumer. But because it's so tailored to you, you know what I mean? Your Microsoft is way more customizable if you know some stuff, right? But that Apple, you don't got to know nothing, right? I just made it so simple and easy for you. I made it fit right in your life. So for me, the question always starts with the customer, right? It doesn't start with the price point. The price point and what we can make happen financially comes after that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But first, it's what does the consumer need? How do I make this life better? If I was not in cannabis and I was buying a product, what would I want to buy, right? For me. And then if I can build around that question, then I feel like I can get the cleanest, honest answer that I can, right? And a lot of these brands are more so looking at that dollar sign, which is why you're going to go and buy your little Tiki Mini Pro, and then which is not designed for that viscosity of live rosin. And you're going to throw a little disty in there because, you know, the price point. But for ourselves, we don't really want to tackle issues that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the reason, to answer your initial question about products, we started with the pen because a pen was, we had Dave Carbone, back to him, right? Dave Carbone's actually worked for NASA. Like, again, he programmed the software for his press. So we took these pens and we actually calibrated the software inside of it ourselves, right? And we picked up our own Omni system, and then we literally hand calibrated the temperature on it, because most of your disti pens out there, they're set at a set temperature, right? So they climb up to 400 degrees, let's just say, right? But rosin doesn't work that way, right? You have to have it on like a bell curve. So I have to taper or build up into my temperature to kind of preserve the terpenes on the front end, so you get that taste of the actual rosin and not blueberry terps that are added later, right? So we actually decarb our rosin in the process and then put the terps back in from the batch itself. That way we preserve the flavor of the rosin. We don't add terpenes later on, right? But so when you have that buildup, you preserve the terpenes on the front end. It peaks at a certain temperature, which is the temperature you want to actually get that high in there. And then it tapers off on the back end so that you pick those terps up again at the end of your pull, right? So with our pens, you actually hit, and I should have brought some. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
But now I'm doing all this talking now, you know. But you preserve those things, right? And then our temperatures are hand calibrated per strain. Oh, because each strain is going to burn at a different temperature, right? So every time we get, let's say I have 500 pens of Jack Herrera, let's just say, that has its calibration on the Omni system. And then I unplug that, and let's say I just throw a Skywalker on. Well, that's a completely different set.
So does that make it then to where most of your pens, or if not all of your pens, are already all-in-ones?
What do you mean by
make that
all-in-ones?
happen? Like you're not
It's
filling
not
the 510
system.
carts or anything where they need to have a battery for itself.
Well, the carts would be filled at our packaging facility, and then from there we take them at those boxes, and then we hand program them with the cord, right?
The consumer isn't gonna find a pod. They're gonna find the full system, the full hardware.
Yeah, it's a disposable, so it's not a pod system, right? It's not a disposable one. To be honest, I think a lot of those pods are going to be out fairly soon anyways. But yeah, we stuck to the disposable system for those, so the consumer would just buy the product, pull it out, and hit it, right?
Right.
Nothing to do on their end.
You know, I heard, and I don't remember where I heard this from, but someone was like developing like this technology where it's like a push pop or like a chapstick, where because as you're getting towards the end of a cart, right, it doesn't burn properly.
Glad you said that,
the viscosity of all that, right? Same situation. Yeah. So they're trying to develop to where it like pushes up and all of the oil still evens out to keep that.
Yeah. So my assumption would be that that's not going to solve the problem, because this comes into the other point on why we again, even our disposable system is very thought through, right? We don't go above a half gram, because when it comes to vapes, you can't actually go above a half gram and preserve the quality or the integrity of the product itself. All those 1 gram live rosin pens you see out there, it's a waste of your money. By half, no matter what, they're going to put a new coil system. They're going to put no coil with a plate on it. All these adjustments, it's not going to fix the issue. You cannot go above a half gram. Right, it's just the way it is. Adjust the hardware on the inside. Adjust the entire pen, the sizing of it. We work with steam engine as well, which they're really good at innovating when it comes to vapes, right? But we've tried plenty of things, you know. And if you look at the market, your half gram pens that are true rosin pens, if you can find them out there, because most pens they're not what they say they are, right? They're not going to be above a half gram. You just can't do it, right? You can push that coil up all you want. The problem is that once you get past half gram in it, it's always going to just continue to gunk up and clog your system on the bottom. Half gram is your golden means. That is your Goldilocks zone to play with. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's not to say that if you change the entire hardware system that you can't fix that, right? But I don't think the issue is moving rosin in any direction, adding or replacing. I think you have to replace the software and to create a better system itself. You know what I mean? That's able to kind of burn the area you need it to burn, right? But that whole space is heating up no matter what, you know.
What would you recommend is the proper, for your product, a proper drag time?
What's a drag?
So like the drag of a hit. So like, you know, people can do blinkers where they hit it until the battery stops. But no one usually recommends that. But I typically take like a 3-second pull. So I'm like, I hit the pen or I just inhale and then it's 3 seconds and then I'm good. I don't like to go any further because then I'm just, in my mind, I'm just heating up all this other concentrate that doesn't need to be heated up. Yep. So I'm
I mean, that's kind of it right there, right? What I would say is the answer would have to be described on or given to the product, right? So if it's rosin, for example, for mine, I would say please don't fucking blink these pens, right? Because you're gonna blame me later for the fact that those things happen. You're burning all this excess rosin, and then you're like, why is this happening? Well, because you're blinking it, bro. Like, don't do that, right?